Here's Johnny!
Hey guys, hope you are going well. So there have been some seriously awesome movies to come out this year, the year of 2016. But you know what? There have also been plenty of mediocre ones too. So today I am talking you through my top 5 underwhelming films of 2016. And you know what? I am not just trying to be a hater or just bashing these films for the sake of it, because without all of these not so great films, how would you be able to differentiate and appreciate the really great films? So much logic. These are all movies that I wouldn't say were all highly anticipated, although some of them genuinely were movies that I was really looking forward to. But these are all movies that, because of big budgets, really cool directors, amazing cast, they should have been good. And not just good, they should have been better than good. And I'm not saying they needed to be like mind-blowing, life-changing, oh my god, amazing Lord of the Rings good, but they should have at least been better than good. I'm trying not to dig myself into a hole and be really negative, but they're just movies I wasn't a fan of, okay? Let's kick off number 5 with an indie movie. The movie Highrise, starring Tom Hiddleston, Sienna Miller, and Jeremy Irons. This is set in a dystopian future, all these residents in a high-rise building with the rich people at the top of the building and the poor people living on the lower floors. And basically the rich people are taking advantage of the poor people, and then everyone just starts fighting with each other and it all just goes to hell. Now this felt less like a movie and more like I was watching a lecture on class struggle and socio-political metaphors. Based on a pretty popular novel from the 70s, I'm sure this material was really interesting at the time, but here it's just been executed really haphazardly and chaotically, with all these different groups of people just like descending into madness and killing and fighting against each other for no apparent reason. It just felt really illogical how it was all done, and yeah, I just wasn't a fan. Not even the really awesome cast, Tom Hiddleston, couldn't save it, I'm sorry. Next up at number 4, it's X-Men Apocalypse, and this was the 9th installment in the X-Men movie franchise, and directed by Bryan Singer, who did X-Men First Class and X-Men Days of Future Past, which was one of my favorites, so I was really hyped for it. This installment follows the birth of the world's first mutant, played by Oscar Isaac, who just was wasted in the role of the villain Apocalypse. And here he reawakens in the 80s to like cleanse the world and destroy, wreak havoc. And not only was he a really just underwhelming villain in general, but his horsemen who were surrounding him, especially Psylocke, played by Olivia Munn, we just didn't really have much to do, and it was just like kind of a little bit generic. I'm not saying it was terrible by any means, it just wasn't as amazing as some of the previous X-Men movies. As a fan of the franchise in general, I loved seeing all the characters getting back together. Michael Fassbender as Magneto is definitely a favorite, and Sophie Turner as young Jean Grey was great. Huge fan. It was definitely okay, it just didn't feel like something fresh and new and sparkly. While I'm on that train of thought, I am so digging the trailer for the new Wolverine movie, old Hugh Jackman. I'm really pumped. Now with number 3, we all know Netflix has just been killing it with a slew of amazing original content with their movies and TV shows, but this one was one that flew a little bit under the radar, and for good reason. It's Ricky Gervais writing, directing, and starring in Special Correspondence. I do swing a little bit with Ricky Gervais. Like, I love The Office, but then I wasn't quite a fan of his other show, Derek. So yeah, I kind of go back and forth, but Special Correspondence was just so surprisingly bland. I expected something else from him. Eric Bana in a comedy role, I was definitely intrigued, and in this one he and Ricky Gervais team up as journalists, and they're meant to go cover a revolution out in some other country, but instead they stay at home and fake the whole coverage of this war and humanitarian crisis from a bedroom and just try and get away with it. Gervais is his usual Brent-esque, awkward kind of underdog, but the bromance that they were trying to build between him and Banner, I just didn't buy it. I didn't feel it, and yeah, just really bland. Now, number 2. This is a film that maybe isn't really the worst of underwhelming films, but I just saw it last week, so it's still really fresh in my mind, and I am putting it on this list. It's Underworld, Blood Wars. Funny story, I thought I had seen all of the movies in this action vampire series, but as the movie started and the first 5 minutes, they did this really long, detailed prologue, like catching you up with voiceover of everything that's been happening in the saga up until this point. And I'm really glad they did that, because it became apparent that there's obviously a movie that I missed somewhere along the line. Underworld Awakening. I slept through that. Now, I am all for a bit of action sci-fi and a leather-clad Kate Beckinsale kicking ass. I really enjoyed the first movie. The second movie was like okay, and the third movie I can't even remember, and clearly I completely missed the fourth movie. I didn't even know there was a fourth movie. But here at movie number 5, someone just needs to tell them to stop. Here again, it's still the exact same war with the vampires versus the lichens or the werewolves. And Beckinsale, I mean, she still looks so great. She's been doing this role for 12 years and she looks bomb.com. But her character has the emotional range of paint drying on a wall. The action was really boring. The CG looked a little bit like a telly movie at times, and yeah, just enough, no more. I am a little bit apprehensive to put this as my number 1, but I'm just gonna do it. Number 1, it's Suicide Squad. And the only reason it is number 1 as my most underwhelmed movie of the year is only because I had such high expectations, and I was like, this was one of my most anticipated movies of the summer, so that's probably why, unfortunately, it had further to fall. When you put a whole bunch of bad guys in a room and make them fight for the good guys against an even badder guy, it's genius. I really like it. I really liked all of the characters. It was just, as a whole, it was just too messy. There was so much going on, so many flashbacks, so many side plots, like trying to jam in as many cool little moments as possible, and it was just a complete mess. I just want to take all of the characters, lift them up out of that movie, and just like wipe the slate clean and put them in a completely different movie. I liked Jared Leto's Joker, but he felt like he was just in a completely different movie. Nothing really that he did affected the main plot. He was a totally separate side plot, and it just didn't weave and gel harmoniously. There you go, guys. They are some movies that for me could have been really great. They had the potential on paper to be really awesome, but instead just, you know, kind of flopped around a bit and missed the mark, which doesn't make them terrible movies. It doesn't make them any less enjoyable. It just means that they could have been better. As always, thank you so much for watching. You can leave me comments in the comment section down below. Do you agree with this list? Do you disagree with this list? Are there movies on this list that you think don't deserve to be on this list? Let me know. I would love to chat about it further. Don't forget, you can also subscribe to my channel and keep up to date with all of my other movie and TV reviews, and I will see you next time. Bye.